Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this September 24th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we are on the EOA.network. It's where you can find all of our locations. Glad that you're here with us today. And here in just a little bit, we are going to have EOU's Kenn Wheeler will be with us talking about the upcoming EOU theater season. How are you, man?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Second Monday.
Yeah.
Second Monday after a long weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there wasn't even really a weekend. A little bit of Sunday. But
Right. Yeah.
It was busy.
Yeah, because you guys, Tanya and I were out of town, and so then you guys covered the game on Friday night.
Yep.
You were a cameraman, which is not your normal duty.
No. I don't like it either. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
No, it's boring.
Yeah. And that game, what is it, 70-35?
Yeah, 70-45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a weird game. I watched a little bit of it online, and I'm like, even I got bored. It's like, okay, this isn't really going.
Well, I mean, it was high scoring, but it was just
Yeah.
And but the good thing is it went fairly fast because Weezer doesn't huddle, and they.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it went it felt like there was a lot of you know what I mean? It just made it kind of go fast. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it was funny because the last 2 minutes, I tuned in at the last 2 minutes. I mean, there was 2 minutes on the clock, and then I forget, I got interrupted and came back, and the game was over.
Well, yeah, because they kneeled on the ball.
Oh, did they? And so they just ran it out just like that. Yeah.
And they were up by 25 points. In the fourth quarter, so they just wanted to get done and get on the bus back to Weezer.
That's right.
They were big too. They were like Vail. I call Weezer the Vail of Idaho. That's
Really?
what I've always called them. Yeah, because they're good every year. It's crazy. We lost to them 2 years ago on the road over there. I went to that game and took pictures, and it was hot. It was the first game of the year, and there's so many bugs over there. It's disgusting. I had on a white shirt, and by the time the game was over, I was sweating, and the bugs just stuck to me everywhere. These little like gnats or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Gross.
And then you had a busy weekend with EOU stuff.
Had a lot of stuff going on this weekend. It was exciting.
All right. Want to do sports?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Experience the ultimate in relaxation and support with the Flex Steel Z recliner. With a variety of customizable positions, zero gravity recline, and a durable performance fabric, the Z-Cliner is your ticket to a healthier, well-rested life. Get to Northwest Furniture and Mattress and discover the true power of comfort. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams and LeGray. EOU football dropped their home opener on Saturday, 45-22 against Montana Tech. Senior quarterback Quincy Glasper was 31 for 45, 259 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also led the team in rushing with 72 yards on 15 carries. LHS grad Brody McMillan had 60 yards on 16 carries. The offensive line actually played pretty good for EOU. I was impressed with the offensive line, and that's normally one of their weak spots. They have a big problem. EOU has a really big problem at kicker and punter. We brought on the kicker to kick an extra point. He missed it. They didn't kick again. I mean, it's just like these are things that have to be addressed before the season in my eyes. We have a wide receiver punting. And at this level, I mean, that just doesn't work. Like, we should have a punter and a kicker. And I don't know what's going on with that situation. I don't know if somebody's hurt or what, but they got to get that figured out moving forward. EOU women's soccer beat Evergreen 5-0 on Friday night and then lost an absolute heartbreaker on Saturday. 1 second to go. There's a penalty. And it's not even a penalty kick. They set the ball probably, 25 yards out, 20 yards out. and the girl kicks, just lofts it over our goalie's head, and it goes into the goal with 1 second left, and we lost 1-0. It was extremely heartbreaking. The Mountaineer ladies are 2-2-2, and they head to Billings this Sunday to take on Rocky Mountain College. EOU men's soccer beat Evergreen as well, 6-0 on Friday, and then battled to a 1-1 tie on Saturday versus Northwest. They're currently 2-1-1. They head to Walla Walla Friday for a 2 p.m. kickoff versus the Wolves. EOU cross country had a strong performance at the CCC preview in Portland on Friday. The women finished third, with Maddie Woodbury leading the way for the Mounties with a 13th place finish. Kalia Hines was the second Mountie across the finish line in 16th place. On the men's side, the 7th ranked Mounties finished third as well. The only CCC team that beat them was C of I, and C of I is a little bit ahead of them in the rankings, so it kind of makes sense. Justin Ash and George Showers were the top two finishers for the Mounties, finishing 6th and 10th respectively. EOU volleyball went on the road and swept Bushnell on Friday night. Saturday's matchup versus number 7 Corbin was looking like it was going to be a wash as well. EOU was up 2-0, but then to let Corbin get the next 2 sets, the Mounties then found themselves in trouble, down 13-10 in the 5th and final set. They rallied and they came back. It was awesome. I was up in the hospitality room at Community Stadium with the women's basketball team, and it was so awesome to see another team at EOU get as excited as these young ladies were when EOU came back and won that game. The Mountie volleyball team is currently number 2 in the nation, and that was a huge, huge, huge victory for them against number 7 Corbin. EOU volleyball's Haley Aratola had 44 digs, 42 serve receptions without an error, 4 aces and 5 assists over the weekend. For her efforts, the senior libero was named the CCC Player of the Week defensively, and that's the first time in her career that she's gotten that award. Congrats, Haley, you deserved it. LHS girls soccer beat Astoria 4-0 on Friday. They play Thursday at Community Stadium at 6 p.m. versus Ontario, while the boys go to Ontario today for a 4 p.m. kickoff. LHS volleyball lost to Burns 2-0 on Saturday. They host Baker at the high school up here on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. LHS football was on a bye this week. They go to Nissa this Friday for a 7 p.m. kickoff versus the Bulldogs. That's Mountain Time. In the GOL, Pendleton got beat at home by Weiser 70-45. Baker lost to Vale 48-19. Ontario lost to Ashland 53-47, and Crook County beat Malala 55-19. Around the Valley football-wise, Imbler had a bye this week, while Elgin lost to Cove 56-18 on Thursday night. Union lost to Adrian 46-0, and Powder Valley lost their first game of the year to Crane 38-22. The fundraiser for Cade's Courage was on Saturday, and it looks like it was a huge success. I mean, I've been following on social media. I didn't get to go. I was at EOU literally all day that day. But thank you to all the volunteers and supporters. This community never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I saw the pictures. I know how many people were there, and I can't even imagine the amount of money that was raised for Cade's Courage and for the McKinley family, and it's an awesome thing. That's the AM Sports Report, brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Go check out their showroom. Big red rocking chair on Elm off Adams in LeGrand.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you, man.
Yeah, a lot of stuff this week. Well, it's always going to be like that on Tuesdays during the school year.
Just a lot of stuff on the weekends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with teams, they usually double up games on the weekends, so it's just, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, our weather cam is down right now, but let's look at the weather graphic. And it's supposed to be 87 today.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's only going to get down to 54.
Yeah.
It's been getting down more into the low 40s and high 30s lately.
I know. So,
this
but in the
so
evenings,
weird, man.
But so yeah. But during the days, this whole week, it looks like it's going to be really pretty, and then mid 40s in the evenings. So
no
it's
rain.
like it feels like, is there rain somewhere?
There's
in there?
no rain.
No rain.
No
yeah.
rain, thankfully.
Yeah. So
I'm good with that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. And the first day of fall was, I mean, it seems like we just came through it.
What, did we have the first day of fall?
I think so. I can't remember.
September 20, it's like the 22nd, right?
So, yeah.
Or the 21st, or one of those two
So
days.
maybe it was yesterday, or maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it was right. Yep. So,
We
anyhow.
might have to adjust those dates one day, like, because everything's pushing, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of like the ODF and W should adjust the hunting days, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think so too. But you know, the reason they can't is because the rut isn't changing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, have you ever hunted with animals in the rut?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like archery hunt or something?
No, I've never archery hunted, but I've gone with people archery hunting.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'm not big on big game hunting. I mean, I have.
Yeah.
But I'd rather hunt birds. I don't like. I like the mountains and everything, but I don't like hiking in the mountains.
Yeah.
When you know, like, it's just too rough on old injuries, like my ankle, my knee. You know,
Yeah.
like I'll turn an ankle or something stupid. And,
No, and I this last weekend when we were down to the beach several times, the inclines on my knees were complicated. So, all right. Well, today we have guest Kenn Wheeler with us from EOU's theater department, and he's going to be with us right after this to talk about the upcoming projects and presentations this year. We'll be right back. Welcome to Creating Memories for Disabled Children at beautiful Wallowa Lake, Oregon. Over the years, we have offered families of children with disabilities a free vacation at our beautiful camp properties. These getaways are a respite for families who often deal with an increased amount of emotional stress, financial hardships, and isolation. At Creating Memories, these families are able to relax in the knowledge that their child is loved and that their efforts are seen. Since 2018, we have completed a cabin renovation every 2 years, continually increasing our capacity to serve. We have fully renovated 3 cabins to become fully accessible lodging for families, including full kitchens and wheelchair-accessible bathrooms. We now turn our focus to the lodge building at the Creating Memories camp. Our vision for the lodge includes gatherings, networking, education, connections, community, and fellowship. We want it to be a place for families to share their struggles and joys, their needs and their knowledge, their setbacks and their celebrations. We are creating memories for disabled children, and our mission is to do just that. All right, we're back, and before we get to our guest, I want to just mention a couple of things that I've forgotten. One is on October the 3rd, we're going to have a candidate forum for the sheriffs and also for the sheriff candidates and also for the Union County Commissioner candidates. This is a forum that's being put on by Union County Chamber of Commerce and EOA Live TV. That will be live starting at 6 o'clock at the high school auditorium. Now, you have the ability to submit questions beforehand. We're also going to be taking questions the night of also. We got an email, somebody concerned about that. And so we'll be taking questions then also. There will be a mechanism that people could submit questions. But anyhow, be sure and set that calendar date, October 3rd. That's just right around the corner. And be sure and be a part of that. It'd be a great opportunity for you to be able to learn more about the two candidates that you'll be voting on for sheriff and for the open seat of Union County Commissioner.
One more thing before I forget. One more thing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night at 5:30.
Yes.
Keeping it clear with Cody Bone. We haven't had one in a little while, so Cody and I will do the show, and it's a live interactive show where you can ask him questions. And it's tomorrow night, 5:30, right here on EOA Live. You can find it on the network. Just type in EOA.network, and it'll bring up all the places where you can access our content.
Right. All right. Hey, Ken, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Glad that you're here with us today.
Thank you, glad to be here.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, morning. That's the only bad part.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not in the middle of shows yet.
No.
Yeah,
no.
because I know that when I talk to you and when you're like in the middle of a show and you've had late night rehearsals, then I say, well, yeah, can you be here at 7:30? And you're like,
Yeah. No, we're just at the very beginning.
okay.
I'm actually starting rehearsal for a show out at the Opera House, and at the theater department, we're having auditions on Thursday for our first set of productions that we're doing.
Oh, wow.
What's the show at the Opera House?
We're doing Annie,
Oh,
the
yeah,
musical. Yeah. And
And is that already all set? Are you in it, or are you
I'm
directing?
in it.
You're in it.
Yeah.
Who are you playing?
I'm playing Daddy Warbucks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that'll
And
be
directing?
kind of fun.
No, you're just in the show.
Just in the show.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years, I've gotten back into acting a little bit,
Yeah.
and rather than directing. But and then like I said, this Thursday at I believe 6 o'clock, they'll be having auditions for what we're calling the Irish plays.
Okay.
Mike Heather took a group of, he's one of the faculty members in the theater program, took a group of students to Ireland last spring and was, I'm sure, so inspired that he decided that he wanted to do we were going to do 2 different Irish plays,
Okay.
but the gentleman who was going to direct the second play got accepted to the University of Birmingham in Birmingham, England.
Okay.
So he's gone, and so now we're doing, Mike will be directing a show called Belfast Girls, and then one of our alumni, Ricky Joe Hickey, will be directing 3 Irish one-acts.
Oh, interesting.
And we'll be performing them in rotating rep, which means on the 12th, 14th, and 16th of November will be the one-acts.
Okay.
And then on the 13th, 15th, and 17th of November will be Belfast Girls.
Okay.
And they're all plays that take place in either the end of the 19th century or early 20th century Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And they're all, dramas about the struggles of life for people in Ireland at that time.
Wow.
And so that'll be the first set of productions. We're kind of excited about it. It's always exciting when an alumni comes back.
Yeah.
Liberty Odell was going to be the director for the second show. He was the one who's going to be going to England, and he was an alumni, and it was great having him here. And now Ricky Joe is going to be directing, and she's also going to be teaching some classes this year.
Oh, good.
So we're excited about that. So that's what's happening during the fall quarter. Then winter quarter, we have a student, senior, who is going to be directing the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a farce where three actors do every Shakespearean play. They do all 37 in the canon. And it's a wild and crazy farce where they're running around all over the place and changing costumes and changing characters, and it's just a lot of fun. And
now, did they do that? Was that done a few years ago?
yeah,
Okay.
we did it as a touring show. We toured it around to the area high schools.
Okay.
And Chris Kellogg Kay Kellogg rather, is the director, the senior.
Okay.
She's a senior this year, and she has a real penchant for comedies, and so she chose that as her senior project.
Oh,
so
wow.
that will be in March,
Okay.
March 14th, 15th, and 16th, I believe. And then in the spring, I'll be directing the amazing classic Fiddler on the Roof.
Wow.
And last year we did the musical She Loves Me, which is written by the same people who wrote Fiddler on the Roof, and we were looking for something that would be a very popular production, and Fiddler always sells out when people do it, because it's such a classic tale about, moving yourself into the future and forgetting the past, and so that's what we're doing, and that will be May 14th through the 17th. So yeah, we'll be doing all of those shows this year.
So when you do a show like that, how many times have you done or been in Fiddler?
Oh, probably 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you do a show like that, do you find little twists? I mean, because there's always a little bit of room for interpretation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. In the script. I mean, yeah. So.
Yeah. If you know the story of Fiddler on the Roof, it's all about Tevye, who has 5 daughters, and he's a poor milkman, and there's no way he's going to be able to marry his daughters off to, he's struggling to find wives for his 5 daughters. And his first daughter, his oldest daughter, she's secretly in love with one of the townsmen, and Tevye goes out and finds a rich butcher, old 60-year-old butcher, to marry her. And so you see the conflict. She wants to marry Model. He wants her to marry Laser Wolf. And the scene before the reveal takes place in a bar where Tevye and Laser Wolf go to seal the deal for the marriage. And the character that she's in love with, Model, he's not supposed to be in the scene at all. But one time when I was directing it, I had just a small number of men, so I shoved him in the scene. And it turned out to be an amazing choice, because the audience now sees why he comes running to Tevye's house the next morning, because he was there when they made the deal about getting married. So yeah, there's always fun little things that we can add to the story to make the story richer. And that's one of my favorites that we've done with that show.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
fun. You don't even think about that kind of stuff,
Right.
until you have an opportunity to just make that happen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so subtle.
It is. And you always open up, if you're a good director, you open up the creative process to the actors.
Right.
And a lot of times actors will bring things to a show that you may not have thought of. And if you're a good director, you're able to say, that's a really important moment, let's add it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and it took me, when we were in My Fair Lady together, in the very first scene when you come into the house and you played, what was the character's name?
Alfred P. Doolittle.
Alfred P. who was a drunk and really rough, probably hadn't had a bath in a long time. And so, and you're in the house, and it gave me an opportunity to just, I didn't have any lines, but I moved away from you just because you're like, there was some kind of an odor that was from you, and I'd rather, So, but I mean, those little reaction things that they're not scripted. They're they're not. It's just part of the thing.
Wait, so you're saying you didn't take a shower for a couple weeks?
No. He was
character.
acting like I was smelly.
okay.
I wasn't really
So
smelly.
how far do you go? Like, say you're going to play Daddy Warbucks, and Daddy Warbucks is bald.
Yes.
And that's one of his primary characteristics.
Yes.
Are you going to shave your head for him?
Yes.
Okay, so you do go that far.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're not going to not take a shower for 2 weeks if your character.
No.
Okay.
I mean, there are some actors who would do that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, because acting, that's why they call it acting.
Right.
So you don't have to really do it. Yeah. So, no.
But the bald thing, I mean, if you're going to be Daddy Warbucks, you have to be bald.
Yeah, and there's something called a bald cap that you can put on.
Right.
But I have so little hair anyway that it's not going to be
a wash.
that big, to shave it. Yeah. So yeah. I probably won't shave until like the day or two before the show opens. But
because you only want to have to do it maybe once or twice.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yep. So.
No, how fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about that too.
Now, is there anything, when you look over this season, are there any things that, like, we haven't done this before and this is kind of different and fun?
Well, I would say that the fall show, doing this many shows in kind of a rotating repertoire.
Right, yeah.
It'll be in the same space, so we'll basically be using the same scenery.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
We may be using some of the same actors.
Okay.
The play, the Belfast Girls, is 5 women, so it's just and so we thought that it was necessary that we find something that also showcased the men in the program, and that's why we're doing the 3 one-acts. They're mostly men, but there's also 2 women in the one-acts, and so there's a chance that the women may be doing more than one show, and the idea of doing it in repertory, which means that a lot of times during summer theater, where a lot of these kids go, they'll be in 4 or 5 different shows that either you do one show and then do the next show, then do the next show, but more often you do shows in rotating, like on Tuesdays and Fridays you do one show, Wednesdays and Saturdays you do another show, Mondays and Thursdays you do a 3rd show, and it just rotates throughout the summer. And that we thought this would be a good experience for them so that they'd be a little bit prepared to do that when they start working, in theaters during the summer.
And I think it was when you and I got to know each other during My Fair Lady that we talked about how you had come through, and that was one of the things that you had done summer theater.
I did.
Yeah. Yep. And I didn't even know that was a thing,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and how interesting that would be. When you've done that, have there been a time where you get in the middle of a show and you have to remind yourself, oh, this is this show and not the other one?
There hasn't, but that's because in my experience the shows are different enough that you once you're in the moment of the show.
Yeah.
The summer that I did repertory theater, they did The Music Man, a melodrama, and then A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which are 3 totally different types of shows. And so, no, I've never had a problem with that. There might be days where I might forget what show we're doing until I get to the theater. And then it's like, oh, wait, yeah, it's Tuesday today. We're doing this show. But yeah, I have to tell you, that's where I met my wife, was doing summer theater. And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, you said... more than 40 years ago.
42 years ago.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and that, and the costume changes also. I mean, so it's did you like the costumes you have? You don't accidentally ever put on the wrong outfit or anything, do you?
No, they usually organize it in a way that that you've got all of the costumes for one show here, and then sometimes they'll even rotate them in. So as an actor, you don't have to think too much.
Yeah.
You just come in and put on whatever costume is sitting on the rack.
And they've got to figure that somebody is like trying to keep you straight in your thinking.
Yeah. And the biggest deal is when when I did those 3 shows, the scenery was totally different for each show.
Oh, interesting.
This year with the Irish plays, they're all kind of poor Irish peasants, and so the scenery's not too much different. Although in Belfast Girls, it's 5 women who are on a boat, on a ship, headed for Australia. they've gotten an opportunity to move to Australia to become wives of Australian immigrants, and so they're moving or they're traveling to Australia. And the scenery is a little bit different, but it's still kind of that old, poor, there's a set of bunk beds and that kind of thing. So it's similar, so it's not going to be too tough of a changeover.
You've been doing theater for a long time.
Yes.
And I mean, you are, I've said this before, you're one of the most veteran actors that I know. And I've experienced you firsthand.
Yes.
And in a very positive manner. So, is there ever a time when you're like, okay, I'm tired of the pretend world and I want real life? Or are there moments when it's like, this is real, this is what matters,
It's my job.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, there's passion in it, and you have to. If you don't take passion into your projects, then they rarely succeed. But there's a big difference between what I've been doing for 50 years now.
Yeah.
And when I leave that. Although in my private life, my wife was an actress.
Right.
She's a director. She's a choreographer. We've enjoyed some of our best times together, working together on shows. But when we go home at night, we go home at night. And raising our 3 daughters who are all theatrical, they love to do it, but it has become more of a career rather than a life choice.
Yeah.
I will say that I am unique in that I am a conservative in theater, and most theater practitioners are not conservative. Right. So that's kind of something that's been a different world for me. I live in the theater world, but otherwise I have a much different life outside of theater.
Well, and that leads to the question of, if you don't mind, like, how do you navigate that? Because our political situation is so polarized right now that it seems like even on the stage there would be times when that would permeate. And how do you navigate those things?
Well, basically, you try not to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
You try to exist in as friendly an atmosphere, which is, they say there's an old axiom that says never act on stage with children or dogs, just because they'll always steal the focus. But it's kind of the same kind of thing, if there's a show that I don't feel comfortable doing, I won't do it. I won't direct shows that I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I leave those to the other faculty members who have no problem with them, and that's fine. I see a value in having all sorts of different theatrical experiences for our students.
Right.
And so, I have my lane and they have their lane, and oftentimes the lanes, cross over, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
There were certain shows that I just would never do as a director or as an actor.
Yeah. It's kind of, so I went to Northwest Nazarene as a college student, and was involved in doing shows, and was in one of their groups that did theater all the time, and that was before My Fair Lady. That was the last theater experience that I had. Yeah. But there was a lot there. But one of the things that the director would do, he would do popular shows like Brigadoon, for instance, and there's a scene where they slip off and the main couple have coupled. Let's put it that way. Okay. Yeah. And she comes back. In the original writing, it's like she comes back wearing a different clothing or something,
Right.
And there were things. Well, this was 40 years ago. Well, he would just change that. Literally, he would, because it was a conservative school.
Absolutely.
And the story of Brigadoon is much bigger than that. But that would be very controversial these days to actually change a scene like that.
Yeah. And that's probably the reason why I don't do shows
Yeah.
that have that kind of thing in them.
Yeah.
There's plenty of drama in real life, that doesn't necessarily have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. And so what's your exit plan here? I mean, you gotta be, yeah.
Well,
I
I
mean,
tell everyone that I'm just going to drop over dead one day in class, and that will be my retirement party.
yeah.
As long as I have my health and I can continue to do it,
Why
there are actors who have been acting all the way up into their 90s.
Yeah.
I think of people like Angela Lansbury. I don't know if you know who she
Yeah,
is.
of course.
She acted up until she was like 93, and so I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten like some pings from outside of the area, do you ever interested in acting in roles that are somewhere else? Or?
My wife and I have talked about it, but it's such a hard thing to break into professional theater.
Right.
It really is. If a young actor wants to become a professional actor, more power to them. But it's a rough road, and at my age, I'm not in the mood to take on that challenge.
Right.
If it were to fall into my lap, sure.
Yeah.
If somebody were to call up and say, you know what, we have this thing going on here, and we'd love you to be in it, I probably would think about it.
Yeah.
But there's enough theater going on around this area.
Sure.
That I'm usually pretty satisfied. So
Yeah.
probably just going to stay here in my lane. And I love teaching students. I love sharing my passion with them, and so that's probably what I'll do until I keel over that day in class.
Well, and I share that. I share that teaching thing with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of satisfaction in being able to,
Yes.
spur somebody on in a direction that you have enjoyed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what about, do you have any grandkids that are thinking about?
I have one of my granddaughters who's been taking the drama class at the school. I have several of my grandchildren who are extremely dramatic and who would do a really good job.
Imagine
It
that.
would be
yeah.
perfect for them, but only one so far who's really had an interest in it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, thank you. So,
Thank you.
one more time, give us an overall thing of what happened. What's happening in the season and what's
Okay.
coming up soonest. Yeah.
The Irish plays will be the middle of November.
Okay.
4 plays in kind of a rotating repertory. And then in March, the farce Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged. And then in the spring, we'll be doing Fiddler on the Roof. And it's interesting because the last performance date of each of those is the 17th, which is kind of interesting. So November, I think it's 12th through the 17th, March 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and then May, I think it's the 15th through the 17th.
Okay.
So,
And
yeah.
these are all planned for McKinsey.
No.
No.
The first two shows, the fall show and the winter show will be in the Schwartz.
Oh, okay.
They'll be in the small theater. The big show, Fiddler on the Roof, will be in the McKenzie in the
Okay.
spring. So yeah.
And is that's a little easier to navigate from a standpoint of staging?
Yeah, if you've been to the Schwartz Theater,
Yeah.
you know that we've got this amazing rotating revolving stage.
Right.
And so it offers up a lot of different possibilities when it comes to staging.
Yeah.
Plus the chairs, the seating is all arrangeable.
Right.
We can arrange it in different settings depending on how we want to
Oh,
present the show.
Right.
So that's fun. The McKenzie is it's a barn, it's a big barn.
Yeah.
It's what we call a proscenium stage, which means there's like a picture frame that divides the action, the actors from the audience.
Okay.
And so it's more of like looking through the picture frame at the story. And that's a 400-seat theater.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, and both of them are beautiful. And
They are.
when I went and saw She Loves Me, that was in the Swartz Theater.
Right.
And the chairs were kind of in a half round thing,
Yep.
and the stage was right in the. I mean, there wasn't a bad seat in the house
Right.
because of that. You know,
it was great.
And so, yeah, super interesting. I know. I was going to ask you one other question. So, Elgin Opera House has gone to a lot of projection
They have.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on how do you like that? What do you think? about
That is the way of the future.
Right, I know that. Yeah.
A lot of theaters in New York, Broadway is kind of the center of professional theater
Right.
in the country, and they've gone to a lot of projections.
Huh.
It just it gives you the option to, and for better or for worse, it gives you the option to be more cinematic, because you can change the scenery in an instant.
Right.
Whereas before, you'd have to either close the curtain and change the scenery, or sometimes change it in the view of the audience, which
Right.
I think is kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
We're still very traditional at EOU. We have used projections in the past, but not to the extent that they are. The Elgin Opera House made the financial decision to go with projectors. And I think they have 6 or 7 different projectors that they use in every show.
Right.
And when you've made that commitment, then you pretty much have to stick with it, because you have to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so I find it really is the way things will eventually probably be all over the country, especially once the technology becomes more affordable.
Right.
But right now, it's a fairly big monetary outlay to be able to project the scenery.
So when you have a set like My Fair Lady, which is, I mean, there's an upstairs and a downstairs. I mean, is there, in that stairway that's a big part of the scene, because
Right.
there's a lot of stuff that happens. How can you ever see a show like that being done without those hard sets?
Probably not. I mean, I think even when we did, the last show I did out at the Opera House was Anastasia. And we still had hard scenery. Like there was a scene that takes place on a train, and we had a train that would rotate around.
Okay.
And so, but we still had to build the train. The projection was what was being seen outside the train.
Right. Okay.
You know, and so there's still some need for hard scenery.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there ever will be a time where you'll be able to do just projections.
Right.
Because there are still so many things that are needed, like furniture and, things like that. Second levels.
Right.
You have to have something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, in that I can get my mind around,
Right.
and I like that, because whatever's being projected just kind of, your mind just kind of ignores that after a little bit.
After a little bit,
and,
yep.
Yeah, and
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, but no, and kudos to Nathan. He's the one that has really worked on the projectors and stuff
Right,
out at
yeah.
the Elgin Opera House, and I know they've really worked at that,
Yep.
And so, well, hey, thank you.
Thank you.
So much for being here. Yeah,
Yes.
we
And,
really appreciate it.
And we'll be back when each individual project comes
Yeah.
up. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about it.
Good. We'll look forward to it, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. You want to get us out of here?
Let's do it. On this day, September 24th, 1493, Christopher Columbus embarks on his second expedition to the New World, setting sail with a fleet of 17 ships. 1789, on this day, President George Washington nominates John Jay for the first Chief Justice in history. 1957, Jailhouse Rock, single released by Elvis Presley, and in 57 it becomes the Billboard Song of the Year. 1968, 60 Minutes premieres on CBS. On this day in 2017 was the day that the NFL players knelt in or stayed in their dressing room because of with the protests about the Donald Trump comments that were made, and it just started a landfall of various things that we won't even get into. 2023, on this day, Taylor Swift attends her first Kansas City Chiefs game at Arrowhead Stadium. Amid rumors that she is dating Travis Kelce, she's shown on screen for a total of just over 3 minutes during that game, which is a lot of time on an NFL game.
Right.
On this day, the number one song in 1974, Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe, by Barry White. And then the quote of the day comes from Abe Lincoln. The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. One more time. The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. Tomorrow night, 5:30 right here live on EOA. The Cody Bowen, Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, or the Cody Bowen Show. It's a live interactive show. We take questions from the audience. We talk about current issues in Union County, and I mean the law just changed September 1st. So if you have some questions about that, Cody will be here and we'll answer them.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. And I didn't mention your wife, Denise. Thank you for, what it is that she's done. She serves on the city council.
She does.
And I have enjoyed my relationship with her immensely.
Excellent.
So yeah, I both of you, I kind of had an intersection with My Fair Lady, and she did the costuming for that. And yeah, really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate what it is that you contribute to LeGrand.
Well,
so thanks so much.
We'll keep doing it.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate you for being here today, and we'll see you soon.
Thursday.
Yep.